Okay, so I have placed all the parts on these schematics as they appear on the real PCB, and now I will add all the connections between all these parts. So maybe I will start with the DAX here. I try to find where are going the input data of the DAX. So the schematic is finished at 99%, I think. So there are two pages for this schematics. The first one is the main circuit, which permits to display a symbol on the screen. And the second page, I called this page interface, which is the interface to the external system, to the host computer or something like that. So let's take a look first at the main circuit, the display circuit here. So you can see that we have two main DACs here. So this DAX permits to set the symbol on the horizontal axis, and the second one here permits to define the vertical position of the symbol. So these DACs are a kind of offset DAC which permits to define the location of the symbol. And we have two secondary DAC here, which uses only 3 bits, as you can see here. The MSBs are connected to the ground here, and the output current here is added to the main current here with the voltage divider here. So you have an output current, so this is translated into a voltage, and this adds the current through this resistor to the main current. So this permits to display 8 dots here. I have the same on the other axis. So the symbol is defined by 64 pixels, 8 by 8 pixels. The symbols are defined in this PROM here. Okay, so a symbol is defined by 8 bytes. 1 byte corresponds to 8 vertical pixels. So you have the 3 LSBs of these addresses here, permits to set the column of the symbol. So you have 8 columns of 8 pixels. These 3 addresses are connected to this DAC, which permits to increment the position in the horizontal axis from 0 to 7. Okay, so for each address here we have a byte which define 8 vertical pixels here, and you have the main part of this board, I think, is this PAL here. So this PAL permits to transform or to translate 1 byte into 8 successive pixels here. Okay, so 1 byte here is translated into 8 successive numbers from 0 to 7, which corresponds on the position of the pixel. So actually, in order to display one symbol, there are 64 different dots which are written on the screen. So this PAL permits to do the translation between 1 byte here into 8 successive pixels. So it's a kind of shift register actually, because with this system it is only possible to display 1 dot at one time. So in order to display complete byte, it requires to decompose the byte into 8 different pixels and to display these pixels successively. And one output of this PAL permits to turn on or off the pixel by the signal SGN_VID, signal video. And this signal, I will search exactly. You can see that this signal is connected to this shift register here. And this shift register permits to add a delay. And you have one wire which is soldered between the pin 1 here and one of these 8 terminals. And this permits to select one delay among 8 possible delays. And this signal is connected to this NOR gate, and this signal permits to turn on or off the spot. So when it is at high level, the spot is on, otherwise it is black. So this is the functioning of the display of one symbol. So all symbols are defined in this PROM here. And you can see that we have 8 bits to define the symbol, so it is possible to store in this PROM 255 different symbols. So we have 3 main bytes in this system. One is the vertical position of the symbol, which is this DAC here, DAC C. One is for the horizontal position, which is DAC A, which is this one here. And we have the symbol, 1 byte for the symbol here. So all these 3 bytes are defined using shift registers, which are in the second page of this schematic here. So we have a cascade of 3 LS595. They are cascaded, and also 2 other bits here with this D flip-flop here. So you have a total of 26 bits. Okay. So the clock and the serial data of this shift register come from buffer here. There is one AM26 LS32. At first look, I thought it was a logic gate because I see only LS32, but actually it's a differential buffer. So we have one differential line here for the clock and one differential data here for the data, and the output, which are TTL level here, are connected to the shift register. And this is the interface with the host computer. 2 differential lines are available on the connector. The connector is on the first page here. So you have these lines, pin number 24, 26 for the differential clock, and 18 and 22 for the data. So let's return to the interface page here. So there is one interesting thing on this schematics, is this stuff here, because the data here of the shift register can be selected between the host computer here through the interface line, but also through this second PROM. So there is another PROM here with only 1 bit is used apparently, which is output 0 here, and this permits to load the data into the shift register. So inside this PROM can be stored some symbols and some location in order to display something on the screen. So the signal which permits to select between the external data which come from the host computer or the data which come from this PROM is made using this signal here. So when this signal is at high level, the external signal I call X here in order to indicate that the data comes from external. So this permits to select the external data, otherwise the data come from this PROM here. So there is a counter here, which permits to have a large number of different symbols and locations. So I don't know the purpose of this thing. So we have also this circuit. I don't know exactly the purpose. So we have these two external bits. I call the output S0 and S1. So as you can see, there is no selection for the data. They have only a clock and data lines. So a timeout or something like that can be used in order to initiate the communication. So there is a specific PAL here, it's one, yes. So this PAL permits to activate the load of the shift register using this signal as RCLK, which is the signal which permits to load the data to the output of the shift register. So this is the signal here. One important thing also and a word is that some lines of the horizontal position of the symbol are entered into this PAL. So we have A2 to A7 here. So 6 bits of the data of the DAC. So I don't know the purpose of this thing. It is more or less impossible to read the content of this thing and to decode internally. It can be difficult to know exactly what is done with this thing. The most important thing is to know how to activate this signal in order to activate the data. So this should be difficult to find. Otherwise, there is nothing special. We have seen more or less everything. So we have this clock generator. The clock generator uses this crystal, which is associated with this gate, which permits to create the oscillations. So we have an enable signal, but it seems that it is always at high level. I didn't see anything connected to this resistor. The enable signal is connected more or less everywhere on the board, and we can select the net here. So it permits to enable this counter. It permits also to enable this PAL here. It permits also to enable this PROM and also the shift register and something else on the interface, which is also this PROM here, which contains the patterns for a specific display. There are 4 different clocks on this device. I was not able to read the value of the crystal due to the conformal coating on it. Yes, we have also these things. So we have the switch, which is the switch on the front panel of the indicator. And the switch actually activates the bulb here, which is called the byte. And in my instrument, I think the bulb is dead. So when the test button is pressed, this bulb is illuminated. And this signal goes also to the rear connector. And if we see where this signal is going, so I will activate this net here. We'll see that it goes to this NOR gate here. So when the signal is at high level here, it is the normal mode when the button is not pressed. The unblinking signal is at low level, so the screen is dark, it's totally dark. Nothing can be displayed. So in order to display something, this signal should be at low level. As it is impossible to press the button all the time, the host computer should connect this line to the ground using an open collector output. I think that the indicator works like this. When the pilot presses the button, the test, it sends a signal to the host computer, and the host computer will connect this terminal to the ground, and then it will start a search of all the radars around the helicopter. And when the thing is finished, probably the test signal returns to the high level, which is the idle state, and the screen is maybe something like that. And during this time, the bulb here is illuminated. I think that's all. So there is this signal, I don't know, there is one signal here which I call G1 8 because it's number 8 here, which is connected on the interface here. So I don't know the purpose of this. I didn't find the connection on the rear terminal. I have to search for this, so I have still 1 or 2% because I have to find if all lines are left open or if some are connected. This I think is complete. But in the first page, in the display page, I am not sure. I need to be sure that nothing is connected, for example with these lines here. But normally with these schematics it is possible to do something. So what I will do next is to use a small processor board. I will need to write a small code in order to send the data using an SPI bus. We need to find the configuration in order to activate the line here. So I will need to monitor this line with an oscilloscope and try to find which combination of data and clock which permits to activate this line. So maybe it is a timeout using only the clock signal, for example, or maybe a specific level during a transition of the clock or something like that. So thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.